Hello, everybody. My name is Andy. I'm a trained Pilates teacher, and I've also had a urostomy since 2020. I've always been really passionate about exercise, and it's been really, really helpful for me personally to be able to learn Pilates and use it to activate my core, train my breathing, train my movement so that I can move safely and actually not just maintain the exercise I was doing before I had my operation, but actually increase it. So I hope this series of exercises will help you as well. I have developed this breathing and movement program to help reduce the risk of peristomal hernia. It's suitable for you, whether you've had an operation or not, and whether you have developed a peristomal hernia or not. It's recommended by the Association of Stoma Care Nurses that you start gentle exercise in the first 3 to 4 days after surgery, unless advised otherwise by your stoma care nurse or healthcare professional. However, some people may feel comfortable to start gentle core connection fundamentals and preparation stage movements detailed in this program earlier than this. Breathing movements can be started the day after surgery. If you follow this program, it's intended that you spend time getting familiar with the movements in the fundamentals phase before progressing through the next phases, carefully and gradually adding variation and building on the intensity of the movements. Here are some tips to remember when following the program. Make sure you're comfortable. Don't begin a session just after eating. Don't overexert yourself. If you feel any pain or feel unwell during the movements, stop immediately and seek medical advice. If you're at all unsure about following these movements, please contact your stoma care nurse or healthcare professional. Welcome to the fundamentals. This is the first of 4 videos in this program, 4 sections to the program. Fundamentals is really key. It sets the building blocks. It focuses on the breathing and the core connection, which are really critical to get right and to understand fully before you move on. Once you've mastered the fundamentals, you can move on to the preparations, moving on, and progressions parts of the programs. You can find all of these on Clini-Med's YouTube channel. Hello. We're going to cover how to stand in a stable position and how to breathe correctly while you're doing so. So let's look at the posture first. You want to have a look at your feet. Make sure that your feet are parallel and your toes are pointing forwards. Your feet will be under your hips and you'd roughly be able to squeeze a grapefruit between them. Just check the alignment at the front of your body, so from the ankle joint at the front, all the way up to the top of your chest, right here where my finger is. Just rest your finger very gently on the top of your chest there. And as you take your next in-breath, maybe allow the front of the body just to grow 1/4 of an inch longer. And drop your hand. Take your attention to the back of the body. Feel the distance from your heel, that's firmly grounded on the floor, right to the top of your neck, where it joins onto your head. And you can even check with the back of your hand where the neck ends. If you put your hand on the back of your head, you'll probably feel a little bit that sticks out. That's called the occiput. And just underneath that, there's a little dip. That's the top of the neck. It's longer than we think. So from your heel to the top of the neck, feel that length. Imagine your head is being pulled up by a string. Let the shoulders relax. Let your hands feel heavy. Look straight ahead. Your chin will be roughly parallel to the floor. So that's your posture. Let's turn our attention to the breathing now. Place one hand lightly on your tummy, just below your belly button. Place the other hand on your chest. and continue to breathe. And just be aware of where your breath is going. Is it going into the bottom hand? Are you more of a chest breather? Is the breath going more into your chest? If you can, start directing the breath lower down your body. You can drop your hands now. Imagine perhaps that your belly is a balloon and you're trying to fill it up with air as you breathe in. This is called abdominal breathing. Try and breathe in through your nose. And if you can, breathe out through the nose as well. Don't worry if you can't. Continue sending the breath deep down into your body, as though you're sending it all the way down to the sit bones. Almost imagine you're inflating that balloon, that is your belly, starting from the sit bones and inflating up to the rib cage. And as you breathe out, you deflate as though you're squeezing a tube of toothpaste, starting low down and flattening your tummy against the spine as you squeeze the air out. Squeeze all the air out, that will create a vacuum, and therefore next time you breathe in, it will be a big, deep, slow breath all the way down to your sit bones. Totally filling the belly up with air. Now on your next out breath, see if you can fill the whole of your upper body with air, from here, from your sit bones, right up to here, right up to the collarbones. And if you want, you can add a little count in as well. So count to 3 as you breathe in, and count to 5 as you breathe out. And if you can, see if you can lengthen that. Count to 4 as you breathe in. And count to 6 as you breathe out. Don't overthink it, just keep breathing slow, deep, right down into your body. And breathing out fully. Do that for 2 or 3 cycles. That will start to slow down your pulse rate, start to mean you're more grounded and focused, and you'll be ready to move. So we're breathing into the whole upper body now. I'm filling my tummy with air. And then I'm filling the rib cage with air as well. And as I breathe out, I empty from the bottom up, squeezing like a tube of toothpaste. If I want to draw more air into my body, I can, because I can actually expand my ribs to the side and to the back. We don't often do this. It might take a bit of getting used to. So give it a go. Put your hands on your bottom ribs, the ribs right at the bottom of the rib cage, the ones that are floating, not attached to the spine. Your fingers will be facing the front and your thumbs will be at the back. As you breathe in, you want to feel your hands moving. You're breathing into your hands. So breathing in. I've breathed into the side of the ribs and also to the back. Breathing out, the ribs close together gently. One more from the front. Into my hands, into the thumb at the back. Breathing out, the ribs narrow down again. From the back, I want to be breathing into my thumb, so the breath is coming into the back of the ribs, 360 degrees. Breathing in. And out. And in. And out. This technique is especially useful when you're doing more difficult exercises like the toe taps, for example, or maybe the half squats, because in those positions your abdominals will be drawn in tight. You'll be working the abdominals. So abdominal breathing will be harder. When that happens and you feel you can't breathe into your abdominals so easily, remember there's plenty of room for expansion sideways and backwards into your ribs. Right, we're sitting now. As in all Pilates postures, you want to think very carefully about your alignment before you start moving. That way you can make sure you're moving safely and controlling the weight as it moves. So you want to have your sit bones very, very firmly planted on the chair. It needs to be a hard back chair, and you need to feel the firm contact between your two sit bones at the bottom of your upper body, firmly in contact with the surface of the chair. The soles of your feet are roughly parallel, toes pointing forward, and roughly level with the hips and the knees, toes pointing forward. Your knees will be either level with or slightly lower than the hips. Your spine is not held in an unnaturally upright position, but it is nice and straight, and ideally you want a straight line or a plumb line through your ear, your shoulder, and your hip joint. You're looking straight forward, and your chin is parallel to the floor. In terms of the breathing, we've already covered that in the standing position, but let's just run through a couple of breath cycles, first of abdominal breathing and then of rib breathing. So with abdominal breathing, and you can put your hand on your belly just below the belly button, you're just breathing into your abdomen. So you allow your tummy to expand as you breathe in, and as you breathe out, you're drawing your belly button back to the spine. Fill your belly with air as you breathe in. Inflate the balloon, and as you breathe out, squeeze out from below your belly button as though you're squeezing a tube of toothpaste and squeezing all the air out. You want to breathe more deeply, or for some exercises where you're really working the abdominals quite hard, you might also want to practice breathing into the side of your ribs. To practice that in a sitting position, bring your hands onto the lower ribs, your fingers are to the front, your thumb is at the back. I'm going to try not to move my abdominals too much now. I'm imagining I'm using them to lift my legs as I would in a toe tap, for example. And I'm just going to try and breathe into my hands. So as I breathe in, the ribs expand to the side and a little bit to the back. And as I breathe out, they draw together. Breathing in through the nose. And out through the nose. Okay, folks, so we're moving into the core connection phase. This is where we learn about and practice how to connect with our pelvic floor and our deep abdominals. This abdominal control is absolutely key to doing exercises safely and to building and maintaining a strong core that's really, really good for safety and for overall control of your body. First exercise we're going to do is called pelvic pull-up, and we're really going to focus in this exercise on the pelvic floor and the deep abdominals. To do it, I'll come to lie on my back on the mats. As in all Pilates exercises, you want to make sure that your body is in a good neutral alignment, i.e. that you haven't got any unnatural bends or strains in any part of your body. You want to be nicely aligned. So you probably want your head to be on a small cushion or a couple of thin books. And make sure that your eyes are pointing straight up to the ceiling, and so is your nose, and so is the chin. Your neck should feel nice and long. Your shoulders relaxed and dropping down to the side of the mat. Feel the length of your spine, and parts of it will be connected to the mat, other parts might be slightly raised off the mat. In particular, your lower back, you might have a little arch there. The sacrum and pelvis, i.e. the big bones right at the bottom of your spine, they will be firmly planted on the mat. Feel the contact of the soles of your feet with the floor. And feel the weight of your thigh bones falling into the hip sockets. So that's here. And relax the hips and everything around the hips. Relax your jaw. Widen across the chest. And as you breathe out, feel your shoulders falling down a little bit towards the floor. Take a slow breath in and try and send the breath right down deep into your belly. I'll actually place my hand on my tummy. So you should see as I breathe in, the tummy rises, and so does my hand. And as I breathe out, the tummy falls. I'm drawing my navel to the spine a little bit and squeezing the air out. One more breath in. And out. Okay, and you continue that relaxed, slow breathing pattern throughout this pelvic pull-up. Okay, and we'll now start to engage and activate your deep abdominal muscles. So for the first step, we're doing this in steps, level 1, 2, and 3. First step is to imagine that you're trying not to pass wind. Okay? So just become aware of that feeling and squeeze the muscles, not very hard, but the muscles that you would squeeze if you were trying not to pass wind, just give them a little squeeze and keep them held, okay? You're not moving anything. Nothing changes in your posture or alignment. You're just squeezing those muscles. And combine that little squeeze with an out-breath. Hold the squeeze as you breathe in. Imagine now you're pulling that feeling, almost like a zip. You're pulling it up in between your legs. And you're now activating those muscles that you would activate if you were trying not to pass water. Still keeping the muscles in your back passage also activated, but now also at the front of the body. Keep them lightly toned. Take a breath in. And now finish off. You're pulling that zip, started at the back, it's come up between your legs, and it's now being pulled all the way down into your belly button. So you're pulling your belly button down to your spine as you breathe out. So you've now activated and are holding your pelvic floor and the deep abdominal muscles. Take a breath in. Don't let go of that light activation. Imagine now that with that slight tone you have in your abdominals, you're pulling on a pair of jeans, and unfortunately that pair of jeans is just a bit tighter than it used to be. So as you're pulling it up and over your hips, you have to just pull your tummy in a little bit more. So you're now, if the previous engagement was maybe at level 1 and light and easy level, you're now pulling that tight pair of jeans up. You've probably moved up to a level 2 now. Pulling your navel to spine. Breathe in. On the next out breath, you're going to pull the zip up on your jeans. The zip starts at your pubic bone, which is right down here, and you're pulling that zip up into your belly button. So you're almost at level 3. You've pulled the zip up. So now your tummy should be pulled quite actively down to your spine, and you've still got engagement of the deep abdominals as well. Finally, imagine you're tightening the belt across your abdominals from side to side. So from one side of your hips to the other. And again, you're just about able to fit into the last notch, but you really have to tighten now across the abdominals. So it's almost like you're trying to close at the front of the hips, from one side of the hips at the other. So you've pulled the zip from bottom to top, and now you're closing from side to side. Now you're connected to your core. Hold it there, and then we're slowly going to release in 3 stages. First of all, we'll let go of the belt. So we'll undo a notch on the belt. So you'll feel you may be moving down from a level 3, very hard activation, to a sort of medium. But you've still got your zip pulled up and the internal muscles zipped up as well. Breathe in. On your next out breath, you're going to let the zip go from the belly button down to the pubic bone. Keep that slight engagement still in the internal muscles. And last step on the out breath, just relax all the internal muscles that you've had tightened. And then take a deep breath in. Really make sure you familiarize yourself with this feeling of gradual and slow, controlled engagement of your deep abdominals. And then you can use the different levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, as appropriate, depending on how challenging the exercise is. Make sure you're really familiar with the pelvic pull-up and that you've practiced it several times before you come onto this exercise, the knee squeeze. Because you're going to be using all the principles that we tried in the pelvic pull-up, engaging your pelvic floor, controlling the deep abdominals, matching that with the breathing. And we're going to use those principles as we start to move very slightly now. So start sitting in a chair, in the stable sitting position, sitting firmly on your sit bones, the soles of your feet firmly on the floor, your hands on your knees. Your spine is nice and straight, you're looking straight forwards. You can have a ball, a squishy ball, or a medium-sized cushion between your knees. Remembering back to the pelvic pull-up, you want to make sure you're just pulling your pelvic floor up a little bit, and as you breathe out, you're just going to give the ball a little bit of a squeeze. So I'm squeezing it between my knees on the out-breath. And then I hold that squeeze, and it's a squeeze at about level 1 out of 3 levels, say. So it's a light squeeze. But I can feel it, I've activated my adductor muscles, the inner thigh muscles, and those are connecting down into the deep abdominals and the pelvic floor. So it strengthens that core connection. Hold this. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, I'm going to deepen that squeeze now, so I'm squeezing up to level 2. So it's a medium effort now. I can feel my adductors really working, and I can feel also a stronger connection to my core. Breathe in, hold your position. And now I go on to the hardest squeeze I can do. So I'm really squeezing the adductors, trying to keep the chest, the jaw, the neck relaxed. They're not involved in this. It's just the adductors, inner thigh muscles, and your core. Squeezing in. Hold it on the in-breath. On the next out-breath, I'm going to drop down a level, so I'm going down from this current hard level back down to medium. So breathing out, I've now got a medium squeeze on. Breathe in, maintain. And last breath out, I relax a little bit, still squeezing the ball, but now it's very light. And you can repeat this 6 times. Right, so we're doing the last exercise in core connection now. We've done the pelvic pull-up, we've done the knee squeeze, and now we're going to start moving a little bit more with the pelvic tilts. Take your mind back to the feeling of connecting with your core. Take your mind back to the slight squeeze on the ball and activating the inner thigh muscles. And just use that feeling to help you as you start to move your spine and pelvis a little bit. Take a deep breath in. And breathe out fully. And then place your hands on your abdomen. Your thumbs will be in your belly button. Your fingers will be on your pubic bone, and press down with your fingers. Make sure you can feel the bone. Pubic bone is a bone. You should feel a nice hard bone when you're pressing down with the fingers, and your thumbs are in the belly button. Palms of your hands will rest to the side. so they'll be on your hips. Okay? And you could do a quick visual check in this position. If you're in neutral, you want your thumbs to be roughly level with your fingers. So you're now in a neutral spine. The next time we breathe out, you're going to imagine there's a little ball halfway between your forefingers and your thumbs, and you're trying to roll that ball down towards the thumb. So to do that, you're breathing out, you're using a little bit of core connection, and you're just rolling that ball towards the thumb, so your tailbone will lift very slightly. The fingers, the pubic bone, will rise very slightly. I can see that difference. Fingers a little bit higher, thumb is a little bit lower. So I've rolled the ball down towards my thumb. Little pelvic tilt. And then I go in the other direction. I'm now rolling the ball down towards my fingers. The belly button rises up. I've arched the lower back. The lower back's off the floor. And my thumbs are higher than the fingers. The ball's rolled down to the pubic bone. That's on the in-breath. On the out-breath, keeping the sacrum on the mat, just tilting it really. My low back presses down or imprints against the mat, and the ball rolls back down into my belly button as I breathe out. Breathing in, it goes in the other direction. So you're just gently tilting the pelvis from one direction to the other. I'll put my hands to the side now. It's a very light, easy movement, and you're just feeling your low back imprinting on the mat and then arching up a little bit. It's a really good exercise to mobilize the lower back and pelvis and prepare for exercises like the cat and other exercises where you're moving the spine. Okay, thank you for doing the fundamentals. Hopefully that's built a solid foundation for you to move on from. We're now going to be moving on to the preparation. Preparation will build more confidence in your body, more body awareness, a bit more muscle tone, and help you to perform exercises and shift weight more safely. Please click on the link below to access that content.